Welcome back to part 2 of the kidOYO tutorial on creating a multi-level maze. So when we left off last, we had controlled movements, we had a code for sensing the walls that sent us back to our spawn point, and we had some simple animations for our main sprite. So now the next part that we need to do is learn about leveling up, achieving a next level. So what I'm going to create is an impact with this blue dot or my portal. It could be anything really, but in this case it's easy to make it a blue dot and then we'll have a reaction based on color. So in order to have a second level, I need to create a second level, and that happens on my stage. So I'm going to click on my stage icon. I'm going to click on backdrops, and I'm going to have to paint a second backdrop. For the sake of making this a little bit simpler for this lesson 1 on creating a level 2, I'm just going to try to make it so that my maze is slightly different but has the same spawn point. So I'm going to duplicate this original maze. So I'm going to right click on this small thumbnail, click duplicate from the drop down menu, and now I have a second maze that I can begin to alter. So I'm working in this maze now, and I can tell because I have this blue highlight around it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with, is I want to maintain this starting area right here. That's really my crucial part, because otherwise I have to do all sorts of programming to make sure that my sprite goes to the right spawn point and all kinds of other things. So it's just easier for me to do it this way for this tutorial, and then when we go to level 3, I'll change that and we can start anywhere we want. Okay, so I'm going to start drawing. I think what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of a dividing line right here. So I know that my sprite was spawning someplace up in this point originally, and that's going to maintain. Now I can change everything else that I want to change, because I'm really going to just isolate this starting point, and then I'm probably going to get rid of that isolation. But what this does is it allows me to fill the rest of the space with whatever I want. So I'm going to choose my paint bucket. I think I'll make the maze background now purple, and I think I'll color in all those white spaces, and all I'm doing is just dropping my paint bucket over top, and it gets rid of all of the other colorings. And in fact, perfect. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to click on the black line as well, and now everything's purple. Okay, so the paint bucket's a really great tool for that. It's great for editing. I mean, if I wanted to erase everything, I could just choose this diagonal line down here, and it would erase everything back to like nothing behind it. So if I wanted to download an image from the internet, bring it in here, and get rid of any background that came along with it, I can do that with the paint bucket too. It's really versatile. All right, so now I can set up my new maze structure. So I'm going to do it like last time, where I choose the rectangle tool. I want to make sure I'm doing a solid fill, so I have to select this icon down here, and then I'm going to choose the color white so that I continue my maze walls. This time I'm going to try to start a little bit overlapping so I don't run into any purple walls or blocks, and I'm just going to do the same like I did last time and start drawing in a new maze pattern. Now remember, you still want to make it easy enough that you can navigate through. Really small walls are really hard to navigate unless you have a teeny weeny teeny tiny sprite as your main character, which you can, but if you don't want to and you want to be able to see it a little bit better, you just got to make sure it has enough space to move through. Ooh, that's a tight one right there, but I think it should work. Okay, and then I'll do one more wall up here. And if you need a little extra time, you can just pause the tutorial and finish drawing. I want to have another goal to hit, so I'm going to actually do a different color. I can't have my ending portal be the same color as it was on the first one, because we're going to interact with color, and that could get really confusing because it'll give commands when it touches this color to switch to this specific backdrop. So I'm going to this time put on a yellow portal. So I'm just going to put that at the end there. Okay, so now I have level 2. So I have backdrop 1 and backdrop 2, which are essentially level 1 and level 2. I like to name things in an easy way when I come back to find them at another point. So I think what I'll do is I'll click on backdrop 1, and right up here above the art palette, I'm going to just change the name from backdrop 1 to level 1. If you want to keep it your own name, that's fine. It's not going to change how the coding works. You'll just have to find your name when we go into that part of it. Okay, so now I have level 1 and level 2 named. Okay, so I need to click on my scripts, and I am going to drag my puppy back here, and I am going to now have to duplicate a couple of things. So I still want the puppy to interact with this color wall and not be able to pass through it. So instead of rewriting all of that code, all I really have to do is duplicate this part of the script, which has me returning to the spawn point if I touch the color of the maze wall. Now in level 1, my maze walls were pink, and in level 2, they're purple. So when I duplicate this, and I'm going to right click on the opening block, click on duplicate, place it below, and then I'm going to select the pink block color, change my cursor from a pointer to from an arrow to a pointer, and then just come and touch this maze wall. So now I have, when the green flag is clicked, I can easily bounce off these walls and return to spawn. Now, the other thing I need to do is I need to impact the beginning portal. So I'm going to click green flag because I know that originally on the last tutorial, we'll look here, oh, well, maybe I did not do this. Okay, so if I click on green flag, nothing happens. I stay, I can move, I can interact, but I'm not on level 1, I'm on level 2. Problem. So I need to write some code to the actual stage. So here I am still on the stage so that I can write code. You'll see something interesting when you're clicked on motion blocks. I have no motion blocks to choose. The reason why is because the stage can't move anywhere. Only the sprites can move. So you never have to use a motion block on the stage. But I do have other blocks. So I need some event blocks to tell the stages what to do, which one to show up when. So when the game starts, or when the green flag is clicked, which is starting all of my other code, I need to have my stage change to level 1. So I'm going to go into looks because it's dealing with what the stage looks like, and I'm going to choose switch backdrop. Okay. I seem to be having some technical issues here. Interesting. I can't select anything. All right, let's stop this. Stop, and I am glitching. Oh, well, interesting. I can do that. Okay, so let's go back to stage. Maybe my glitch is done. There it is. Sometimes you just have to be patient. This is an online program, so if you have an interruption in the internet, or if the server that is hosting Scratch has an interruption, you could have little problems like that. Generally, just keep trying. All right, so I have when green flag clicks, switch to backdrop, switch backdrop to, and it says level 2, but we know we want that to be level 1. So from the drop down, I'm going to select level 1. Now I need another program, but I can't have it happen just on the stage because I can't say really when to switch to level 2. So what's triggering the switch to level 2 is happening with my main sprite, so that's where the code has to be written as well. So here I am going to see if I can, one little nice trick that you can do is if you have a lot of code on the page and you want to clean it up a bit, if you right click anywhere in the open script palette, you have a drop down and it says clean up. So you can just clean up and it will neatly stack your code. Actually, it's taking mine way over there, but that's okay. I think that thinks it's neatly stacked. All right, so it leaves me with some additional room to write some scripts right here in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to have this start with when the green flag clicked, and then I need to set up a condition. If you remember, I have 2 stages. So my first stage is level 1, and I'm going to go into my backdrops to switch to level 1 just so I can pull color from this color when I write the script. But ultimately I want the script to be written on the main sprite. So I'm back to the main sprite, and you can easily toggle between these two. So when the green flag is clicked, the condition I need to set up is that if I touch this color, it broadcasts a message. And a broadcasted message works just like broadcasting something in real life. Like if I broadcast a radio station, I can send the radio station out as a broadcast, and it has to be received somewhere in order for me to hear it. And the same goes for television. You can broadcast signals from a satellite, and then your television set catches it, or maybe your cable box catches it, and then you can watch the show. So in coding, we can set up broadcasts too, and in Scratch, it's really important to do this because each part of the Scratch program contains its own code or set of instructions. So if I want something to happen to the stage, the code has to occur on the stage. If I want something to happen with independent sprites, if I had a couple more sprites, the code for each of those sprites will happen in their own container as well. So I'm going to set up that condition. Click on my control blocks, and I need an if-then block. And then I know I'm going to want this to be consistently checking to see if this condition is satisfied, so I need to wrap it with a forever loop. And I can attach my green flag. And what's going to start the condition, the Boolean that we need to place in here, my true-false question, is going to be a sensing block because I'm interacting with a color. So I need the touch and color block. I'm going to click on this block like I did with the others. So it turns my cursor from an arrow to a pointer. I'll bring that over to the portal color. I click on it. I know I've done it completely when this color matches this color. Okay, so now I can say forever if touching this color, broadcast that message. So I go back into my event blocks, and I'm going to choose broadcast. Now, right now it says message 1. But from the drop down, you'll see that you can name the messages. You can broadcast many messages titled many different things, and you can broadcast one message that's received in many different places. The message is really just a signal. It could be blah bitty blah blah blah, and then where you're making the impact of the programming is on the receiver side. So I wouldn't recommend naming it blah bitty blah blah blah, because if you ever come back to this later and you want to work on it, you're like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? What does blah bitty blah 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 mean? Who's supposed to catch it? So it's good to make it relevant. So I'm going to click on new message, and then I'm going to say go to level 2. And that's going to be my message name. That doesn't mean that it knows to go to level 2. That's just a name. So now I have to tell other parts of the program, well, what should I do when the message level 2, when I hear go to level 2? So the first thing that needs to happen is the stage needs to change. And so we see when we're here in the events blocks, we can set up a receiver. So when I receive go to level 2, okay, the message went out, go to level 2, go to level 2, go to level 2. What do I do? What do I do? All right, so first thing you do is, if you're the stage, you switch backdrops. So I go into my looks, I choose the switch backdrop to level 2. Then I also want my puppy to go back to the beginning of the maze. We want it to always have to start at the beginning. If he starts at the end, he's already won. So at the same time that the stage is receiving the message level 2, I also want the puppy to receive the message. You might think that's strange since the puppy's generating the message, but every part of the program can hear the message that's broadcasted, and it can trigger a reaction. So I'm in the puppy, and I'm going to go to my events blocks, and I want to say when I receive the go to level 2, what should I do? So what we know we want the puppy to do is go back to the beginning of the maze. So we have conveniently over here we have these blocks that we know when it's touching the color pink or the walls of the maze, it gets sent back to the beginning, right? So that's the beginning block. So we can just duplicate this block right here. And the reason why we want to do it is it already has the coordinates of the spawn. So we're going to just right click on that block, click duplicate, and now we can bring it over and attach it to here. Now this reminds me of something. How is my puppy going to know when the green flag is clicked and the game starts to go there? Because I haven't told it to go there when the green flag is clicked. Everywhere I look in my code, let me see. Nope. Nope, nope. Oh, geez, I need to put it there too. So I'm going to create another duplicate of that same block. Right click, click duplicate, and I can place this really on any when green flag is clicked, and it won't impact the rest of the code. So since this one's right above me here, I'm just going to slide it in there. The rest of the code will still work, but when the green flag's clicked, the computer's first going to look at everything that's immediately attached to it. So it's going to tell the puppy, go there. So let's see. I'm going to click on the green flag and start all of my code. I'm going to move my puppy down, walk, 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 walk. Now, watch, I'm going to stop the game. So now look at where my puppy is. I stopped midway, and when I go to start, he's got to go back to beginning. Yep, it works. Okay, so now you can test it out. What should happen is you should be able to navigate through your maze. Don't touch the walls, puppy. Oh, look at that. When I got to my portal, it worked. Went back to the beginning and I went to level 2. Now your challenge is, can you make level 3? Let's see how many levels you can make and how different you can make them. Don't get confused by how many different colors you're using, and make sure you're always changing the color of the portal. Because if you make a yellow portal in 2 different maze levels, the yellow can only broadcast a certain message, and when that message is heard, it's going to change to the stage you tell it to. All right, happy coding, and tune in for the next phase of the maze levels where we add dun 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 an enemy.